Welcome to The Vault. Tune in every week to unlock the marketing secrets of some of the fastest growing businesses. You'll hear practical tips, strategies, and case studies that will help you build incredible marketing campaigns for your business. And now, here's your host, Stacey Kehoe.
Hello and welcome to the show. I'm so excited to introduce you to today's guest. Fran Boorman is the owner of Sellball Limited, a network marketing business that she has built to an excess of £8.5 million turnover, the fastest growing in her sector. She has supported over 1,000 business owners to create their own business success by using her growth strategy and aligning with social causes. Fran is passionate about helping business owners to find the joy in their business beyond the bottom line, and by doing so has actually attracted more loyal customers and dedicated staff to those growing businesses. She's also authored 2 best-selling books, runs a free online business forum, and is in the process of launching a new social enterprise to support the homeless through a football initiative. Fran is so incredibly authentic and is a really strong advocate of how Facebook Live can help you build your credibility online. I can't wait for you to listen to the marketing tactics she uses in her business. So let's open the vault and dive right into this episode. Hello, Fran, and welcome to the show.
Hi, Stacey. How are you?
Very well. And yourself?
Yeah, really good. Thank you. Really good.
Good. I'm so pleased to have you here today. We've got lots of exciting things to discuss.
I can't wait. I'm really looking forward to talking to you, and great to be talking to another amazing business lady.
Oh, you're very sweet. Thank you so much, Fran. Well, let's kick things off by talking through how you got started. Where did your business begin, and what has your journey been like?
Well, my business really began, I think I've always had that kind of slight entrepreneurial spirit. My dad is an entrepreneur, has his own business. I think it was sort of in my blood. But when I really delved into it was when I got married. Me and my husband knew we wanted kids. And I was looking at my day job going, this really isn't going to be very practical when it comes to having children. So even though we weren't quite yet ready, I started thinking, right, I need to find something. So my first kind of delve into a proper business was actually started an online craft business, which was okay, but I got bored with it quite quickly. But through networking that, I then came across a network marketing business. And most people in business will have heard of network marketing. It's a sort of direct sales business where you can build a team. And I just loved the business model. I thought it was such a clever idea, and I loved the community and the support that went around it. So I dived into it kind of head on. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I took all the training it's a bit like a sort of mini franchise. So there was loads of training and support around that. So it really got stuck into it, and it kind of snowballed. So my first 10 years in business were just mainly focused on building a network marketing business that I still have to this day and that I still absolutely love.
That's brilliant. I think we can all relate to that, I think. We've all seen the network marketing businesses out there. And I think it's so great to actually hear you speak so positively about that sort of thing, because I also have some experience in the network marketing industry. And I too actually look at it in a really positive outlook in terms of the skill set that I've learned and the types of people that you get to bond with and build relationships with, not only with your team, but also with clients and customers and things like that as well.
Absolutely.
And I think that's not common really, is it, actually, in that industry?
No. I was going to say, I was a bit of a rebel in the industry, so to speak, because I didn't do things completely as I was told. And if you speak to most network marketers, they'll say, just follow the system to do as you're told. And there were certain things about it that didn't sit right with me. And it is effectively, it's a sales business, whether you like it or not, it's about sales. But in my view, every business is about sales. Whatever you do,
couldn't agree more.
You've got to sell.
Mm-hmm.
And also every business is about people and managing people, which is exactly what network marketing is. But the industry probably has a little bit of a bad name because it has had over the years very pushy salespeople, people that aren't honest, people that, say, oh, come along to a meeting, and then it's something completely different to what the person was expecting, and all these kind of bad practices. And one of the reasons my business actually became the fastest growing in its sector, and it was really because, to an extent, I kind of stuck 2 fingers up at the rules and said, I'm going to do what I feel is ethically right and what I feel suits this business, because I could see the power of the business model, but maybe didn't like all the practices. And of course, when I started doing that, it took some time. And again, a lesson for business, anything is the success is what happens when no one's watching. It's all those kind of little things that I was doing in the background for years. And within 5 years, the business had just exploded. And I was being followed by people that also loved the business model, but wanted to do something that was a bit different and that wasn't the pushy sales, but was actually about genuinely wanting to do good. And that's something that you now see in network marketing across the industry more. But there are still, like in any industry, there are still practices that could be improved, shall we say.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it just makes sense, doesn't it? Like, to want to enjoy what you're doing, to actually focus on building the relationships with people, which is, I think, ultimately the reason a lot of people get involved. Because it is one of those businesses that often, might be a stay-at-home mom that kind of gets into it, or somebody who's looking to start a little side business on top of maybe an existing job with the option to exit out of it and go into that full time. And you're looking for that community, you're looking for that support. So I think that makes sense to just focus on the people from the beginning and do things ethically and in a way that makes you feel good. And that makes good business sense to me.
Absolutely. And whilst it may not get the fastest, quickest results, it's when the difference is when you stick to it. That's when all of a sudden you find that you've built a reputation, you've built trust with people. And it was always, my business was always compared to other businesses within our company. And mine seemed to have much more sustainability. People were staying indefinitely pretty much. They were continuing to work. They may not be the fastest workers, but they were making a genuine difference. And that was, again, it was all sort of built around this kind of good ethics and actually going, yeah, we've got to sell, but let's do it in a way that's nice and that we enjoy.
It sounds a little bit like the tortoise and the hare. So you're sort of doing everything the right way.
It is a little bit like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, good stuff. So then what happened then? So you got this business to a point where you're pretty comfortable. I believe you got it to a point where you were working pretty passively.
So I still love my network marketing business. I still grow it. It's still there, but it provides me with an income, and it provided me therefore with an opportunity with both an income, but also for some free time to look at other things and starting to kind of expand my capability. And I learned so much through that journey of building that business for 10 years that I suddenly realized I was sitting on this wealth of knowledge, plus a real desire, and also the finance and the time to do something different. I think sometimes you don't realise the value that you have. I'm very British. I'm kind of very, I don't like to blow my own trumpet. I find all that stuff quite difficult. I got to a point where I realised actually I was sitting on a huge amount of knowledge that would genuinely help people. I just had to get over myself and start talking about it. So I started a little online community under the brand Fran Global, which is my kind of Twitter handle, and it just kind of got used for that. So created an online forum where I'm helping anybody that's really interested in business and just sharing loads of advice and tips and kind of a lot of the emotional stuff that it takes to go through business as well as the practical stuff. I'm not going to claim to be an expert like someone like you, Stacey, who's an expert at social media and things like that, but I can talk about my experiences and got an amazing response from that. So that's developed now into doing coaching, training, retreats, those kind of things to help share some of that knowledge, but also really pull people together who are on that journey and don't want to do it on their own. Because most small business owners, it's incredibly lonely, and it's something that I've had to deal with over the years. Is actually even if you have got people around you, it can still feel quite lonely. And to have a community of people that you can be really honest and share the challenges and the highs and the lows, and then also mentors and supporters that can also help you with that, it's really powerful. So that was one thing that evolved. And then on the other side, I then started getting lots of opportunities, talking to lots of people. I started doing some strategic work for some other corporates and helping them look at their business strategy. And then I ended up meeting an ex-pro footballer. And he asked me to do some work with him and to see if I could support his foundation. And that's now spun off into a whole nother company, which is incredibly exciting.
There's a couple of really good nuggets that I think our audience would really enjoy hearing about. So I think when you talked a little bit about starting an online forum, that's in fact in a Facebook group, isn't it? That's where...
That's right.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, and I did it just as, again, as I say, I'm not an expert. I know you can have pages or whatever, but I just did a group because I felt that people were going to share, and they do share stuff in there that maybe they don't want their friends seeing, because if, they're having challenges. So in a group, at least they know it's only the membership of that group, and everyone that's in that group is in a pretty much same position.
It's a safety net, isn't it? And it's just a great forum to be able to share the successes, challenges, but also ask questions and really help to progress outside of, what you're portraying on perhaps your key social media pages, whether it's your Facebook page or an Instagram page or whatever. So I thought that was great. One thing that I've obviously observed you doing within that group, and I think across Facebook too, is you utilize Facebook Live a lot. I'd love to talk to you about that, because I think I'm actually a big fan of Facebook Live, and I think it's a phenomenal way to get growth and to improve your reach far beyond anything you would get organically. So talk to me a little bit about how did you get started doing that, and how have you found that's helped your group or your coaching?
Well, I think the interesting thing was, prior to doing that, and you and I knew each other in the early days of this space, and you would have seen some of my hideous attempts, because prior to getting into the lives, I tried to do very professional pre-recorded videos, and I spent time editing them and so on, and at the end they were pretty average. And because I felt the pressure of, okay, I've got to record this, and I don't like that, I'll take that out and cut that out, the actual quality of them wasn't very authentic, and it wasn't very good. And I remember having a chat to a very good friend of mine. He said to me, it's just not you, it doesn't reflect who you are, and you need to get better at reflecting who you are. And I just thought, oh, sod it, I'm just going to try and do it live. So I just thought, I'm going to do it live and just see how it goes. And bizarrely, although you feel quite self-conscious because you can't delete it and undo what you said or anything like that, but in a funny kind of way, it was really good, because once it was done, it was done. The fact that I couldn't change it was a good thing, because it saved me hours of spending doing it, and it meant that I could generate content much quicker. But also then I just felt it became much more authentic. If I said something wrong, I just sort of had a laugh, and then I love the fact that whilst I'm live, people can interact and they're thumbs upping or they're asking questions. So it just became a really nice way to actually communicate and to share that message. And I think because people are part of it and they're watching it live with you, they feel more part of it as well. So they feel like you're talking to them. So it's just a real authenticity. So two main reasons, like authenticity, but also, to be quite honest, saving time.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that actually, because I think recording video, you can I do it with the podcast too, recording intros. I can't tell you how many times I probably recorded an intro 16 times. And I'm like, why? The first one was fine. It was okay. But you just record it because it's not perfect. And you just waste a lot of time. So I think that makes total sense. And I think, obviously I agree. I think, coming off as an authentic and credible person is easier to accomplish actually when you just do it live. And I think if you live what you say, so for example, you always talk about, being authentic and being transparent, and that's just who you are as a person. And I think that translates through all of your brands. So that's easy for you, that's easy for you to just be who you are across those Facebook lives. I imagine the only time that it becomes a challenge for anybody in business is if you're not as authentic as you say you are. So
that's true. That's true. And I mean, maybe that's the lesson, because I don't think there's me, effectively, if I am now coaching other startups, entrepreneurs, I'm working in corporates, and there is that thought of, oh my gosh, they could go on and see a Facebook Live I've gone and not like it. But then I go, well, do you know what? That is who I am. And if they don't like it, I'm probably not going to be the right fit for them anyway. So having that real belief and faith in who you are and what you stand for, I think is so valuable. And it's what people want these days. We're all fed up of the kind of plastic fake life, that actually we want people that aren't perfect, and I guess as long as you're willing to say, actually, I'm not great at this part, and then the value is then you usually, if I find something that I want to share with my audience that I'm not great at, I'll find somebody within my audience and say, hey, come online with me. And I think that's quite empowering, because it shows everyone else that I'm still learning as well, and it makes them feel better about themselves.
It just makes you a real person, somebody that you'd want to do business with, So my next question, you mentioned there that you, through the process of setting up this group and talking to lots of different people, and you got speaking engagements, then you met a pro footballer, and you're about to tell us about this next business. But how did that come about? How did you build that group? Where do all your people that are inside the group come from? And how did that lead on to those speaking engagements and getting introductions to high profile people?
Several things were happening at the same time. So one was making this decision to start the group. If we wind back a little bit from there, I started talking more open. Before I even started the group, I started talking much more openly about what I was doing, some of the advice I was giving. And I feel, my motivation is not about making money. My motivation is about impact and helping people. So I thought, actually, I just need to talk about this stuff and help as many people as possible. So I started crafting some talks so that when I went, or crafting also what I was saying when I went to networking events and talking to people. And that helped them refine my messages. So I started to get a few key messages of how I thought I could help people. And when I go to, for example, a local networking event, I would speak to somebody and I would share with them a bit of content rather than trying to sell to them. I would share with them a theory or an idea or something that I thought would help them, or I would try and connect them with someone else that I thought would help them. And very quickly, I became quite a trusted member of those communities. And then I started being asked to talk at some of those events. And I think when you go, if you do any networking events in business, if you've got really good content to share and you have to work hard, again, it's not like it just comes to you in a lightning bolt. I actually have to sit and spend some time thinking about how I do things and why I do them, and crafting that into actually a really useful message. But once I'd done that, I could then go to these events and I could talk at these events and offer real value with no expectation of return, but just to say, here's some great value. And that started to build an audience of people that were interested in what I was doing and what I was saying. And so they wanted to follow me. So the next natural progression was to start this forum. So I already had quite a few people that were friend requesting me on Facebook. I hadn't been into LinkedIn or into Twitter prior really to any of this. So all of a sudden I started having people, I started getting into those forums, and then started connecting with people through those. So that on the day that I decided, right, I'm going to launch this forum, I think in the first week we got couple of hundred, or something like 500 members in the first 3 weeks. So it went really, really quickly. But the exciting thing about it was because I kept offering really good, valuable content, the engagement rate was bonkers, and it's still up at about 95% of the members are engaged in the forum.
That's amazing.
So people were not just becoming members, they were actually engaging in it.
Yeah.
And I think that's, again, that just comes from offering this good content.
Yeah, great. I think that's a really important point, because that's the source of any great marketing material, which is offering value to the end consumer. You know, you don't want to just be focused on pitching what you're doing all the time. I think if you just go into it with the mindset of offering value and actually don't even expect anything back in return, that, guess what? Funnily enough, it actually does come back in threefold, you know?
It is genuinely, loads of people say, oh, so why have you done this? What are you doing? The forum for me, it's almost a little bit of a game in terms of a fulfillment game, in terms of I get these amazing comments from people that private message me and say, this has helped me. And it's a sense of fulfillment. I kind of go, this is amazing. I can't believe I'm having this kind of impact. And I do it for that, not for any other reason.
Yeah, for sure.
And then I get people saying to me, will you coach me? Can I come on a training course? And I kind of go, oh, okay, I best create something. But it mainly comes from just enjoying. And again, I guess that comes back to business. If you are genuinely passionate and enjoy what you do, it's so easy to create content.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like work. It just feels really enjoyable.
That's great. Yeah, I like that. So interesting thing I just noticed that you said there was, it was when people started to comment and reach out to you privately and telling you what an impact you had made, that they were asking for what's next. So what I find interesting about that is you didn't go into it with a pipeline in mind. You just basically started this community where you were just giving value. You were helping people. You were just telling them about, you know, because you do share a lot of personal information and, you know, feelings and good things and bad things and just insight into what's happening within your business. And obviously that's what people relate to. And it was only after that sort of proof of concept that you then decided to actually launch, you know, a coaching program or some mentoring. Was that right?
Absolutely. And if I'm completely honest, I'm still crafting some of that at the moment, because it's something that I didn't start it for. I started it because I wanted to give back, not because I wanted to monetize it. But it gets to the point where people genuinely, they want something. So you have to give people what they're looking for. So I had to then spend some time actually backpedaling and going, okay, so what could I do here? And understanding my own value and looking at it going, okay, so that's a value I've got. So how can I package that up to make it valuable for somebody so that they actually would want to buy it, but more to the point that if they did buy it, it's going to give them even more value than they're getting in the forum at the moment.
Yeah.
So, a need came out for people asking for one-to-one coaching or group coaching sessions. And again, I'm really honest with people. I'm not a professional coach. I've not done any, formal qualifications in coaching. However, I built a sales organisation of over 1,000 people and supported all of them in growing their businesses, which is probably better, preparation for that kind of business than actually learning how you should do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a tangible result. You've actually done it. It's not just theory, it's practical.
And I guess that's part of my theory as well, is that I will always keep growing businesses around this, because that's what will keep me relevant and keep me able to offer good value to other people running businesses, because I'm still growing them and I'm still remembering the challenges and the highs and the lows and the good and the bad and the how the economy is affecting things at the moment and everything that's going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Still building a business, it keeps you relevant in that sense.
Yeah, that makes total sense. So going back to these networking events you were doing, you're obviously sharing your value and, a couple of the subjects that you really like to talk about. Somewhere in the mix of this, you were introduced to a pro footballer, which I think led on to the next business.
Yes.
To begin.
Yeah, so actually that came through LinkedIn. So from raising my profile, I say it came from LinkedIn. Somebody said to him, you need to speak to Fran. So he contacted me through LinkedIn. He said, somebody's told me that I need to speak to you. Can I come speak to you? And at that time and still now, I do get quite a few requests like that. And I'll be completely honest, and I love it if you listen to this later. I thought, oh God, here we go. Another one. I wonder what he wants. I said to him, if you can come to me on this date, this time, we'll have a cup of coffee and let's have a chat. But actually, when he turned up, he had such an amazing proposition and he needed some help. And I actually felt like I could help. So what he had was, as an ex-pro football, he'd set up a charitable foundation in 2015, which helps homeless and severely disadvantaged 16 to 24-year-olds get into education, employment and training. And they use the universal passion for football to do this. Now, the funny thing is, I'm not interested in football at all, or at least I wasn't at this point. So I've got this really enthusiastic footballer telling me how amazing football is. But luckily, I loved the fact that it was being used for such a good cause. So what they do is they take these 16 to 24-year-olds who usually probably wouldn't accept help because they're very anti-establishment, life has dealt them some pretty tough cards. But because they're coming from a place of football and saying, do you know what, if you want to come play football once a week for 10 weeks, all of a sudden these young people start engaging. So they get them along to a Premiership football club once a week for 10 weeks, where they do a morning of football training and an afternoon of careers and education training.
Amazing.
And amazingly, they have a 100% success record that these young people leave the programme either in employment, education or training. So
amazing.
It's
oh my God.
Hugely successful foundation. So first things first was he wanted me on board, so he made me a director of that foundation, which I was happy to do to support them. But then I wanted to help them find a sustainable funding model for their foundation, because what they were doing was fantastic, but it meant them going around like a charity, cap in hand, saying to different people, please will you sponsor us so we can do more programs.
Right.
Now, my big belief is that charity is amazing, but if you want to make an impact in the world, you've got to use business. Business is where the resources, and business is also sustainable and scalable. So I suggested that we found a way to make it into a business. Cut a long story short, I came up with a model that he loved so much that we agreed to go 50-50 in a new company. So what we're doing now is we are using the street soccer program and we're attaching that to a corporate events package. So a corporate can sponsor a cohort of young people. And when they sponsor those young people, as part of the deal, they actually get to come to a Premiership football club, which is pretty cool. So we're partnered with 12 of the biggest football clubs around the UK.
Amazing.
They get to come to those football clubs and they get to have a kind of company away day. So in the morning, they'll do some training around one of their goals that a company they're working on. And then it goes a little bit apprentice style, because then we're going to split them into two teams. And what they have to do is, in their teams of these are the execs that have come from the corporate, they have to deliver in the afternoon part of the training session to the vulnerable young people. So they have to find engaging, exciting ways to deliver the training to the young people, which means in the afternoon they get to meet the young people that they're sponsoring. They get to add value. They'll get to know them as well, which will be quite eye-opening. And then at the end of the day, they'll get the opportunity to telephone mentor those supports, those young people, just 15 minutes a week through the 10 weeks, but also be part of their graduation and all get them together at the corporate's head office when they graduate, so that everybody can share what they've learned through the experience, both the young people and the execs. So it's a really exciting product.
Yeah, isn't it just? Gosh, it's like where to begin. That's so great. So, I mean, because there must be a lot of corporates out there that are really looking for, the rise of the sort of social enterprising and wanting to give back. And it's almost an expectation, isn't it, from corporate social responsibility perspective. So, yeah, I think the concept sounds incredible.
I was going to say, Bruce, a big part of my drive on this is I see loads of companies wanting to do their corporate social investment, but it's all very hands-off. It's, we just send a check.
Yeah.
And my view is if you want to actually make a difference, you need to get some value from that. And sending a check, you don't get any value from it. Whereas this, your staff will come out more engaged. And we're already looking we've already had an offer to work with some of the biggest universities in the UK that believe in what we're doing so much that they're going to start creating some data around what we're doing in terms of staff engagement and those kind of things so that we can actually prove the value that an exec is getting and that a company is getting, as well as the value that a young person is getting from coming through the programme.
I mean, I love the concept. I just think, I run obviously quite a small business, but we do an annual team day every year where we get the whole team together from around the country and we all go out and do something fun together. And I just know that we're only doing it once a year at the moment, but I've been looking at whether I should be doing that more often, because when we are discussing things like how we want to be giving back and how we want to make a social impact, that's what really gets them excited. They're really engaged in that sort of aspect. They've got loads of ideas around it. They're very creative. They think of things that I had never even thought of. So I can absolutely see how even, on a more corporate level, the direction they must be able to take things in, and just getting them, people are involved or excited about something that's outside of their normal corporate office job, I think must be exciting for them.
And I think it's making it tangible. If you look at all the the millennial, Deloitte did a fantastic millennial survey. So if you talk about the next generation of workforce coming through, they want more than a salary. And if they don't get it, they're not going to stick around.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
Employee engagement is a huge, huge issue at the moment, trying to get employees actually engaged in what you're doing. And the best way that I've seen is to get them engaged and connected to a socially good cause, because then they feel much more connected to their company, because their company is empowering them to make an impact in the world, which at the end of the day is what most of us want these days, is to make a genuine impact. And the difference with this program is not only is it hands-on, but because they go through the whole 10-week program with the young people, they're actually going to have that not just as one day. It's going to be an ongoing thing where it's flesh and blood. They get to meet the young people, get the young people to come to their office. And we're already talking to some of our first corporate clients. They're actually talking about the opportunity to employ some of the young people when they finish the program. So actually we might get some of those homeless young people now even jobs at the end of it with the company that sponsored them.
Wow, that's so incredible. Look at the way that's unfolding.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
Really exciting. And I think one thing I want to dip into a little bit here is what I've observed, because I'm obviously I'm inside of your Facebook community as well, is that you are documenting that entire journey.
Yeah, so to tie into the sort of Fran B Global brand, the day I launched the forum was the day that I met and agreed to go 50-50 on this new company. And that was part of the motivation to do it, because I know what it takes to set up a new business. I've set up other businesses over the years. And I've also been a non-exec director on other company boards. I know all of that stuff. And realising how much I know, I thought, actually, what's the best way to disseminate this to people that are starting up? And for me, the best way was, let's just record the whole journey of a new startup. So every step of the way, everything that we do for the new startup, pretty much, I record a little video and say, guys, this is what's happening, the good and the bad. So it's not a kind of, this is a case study and everything is perfect.
Yeah.
We had a thing recently where the branding came back and none of us liked it, and then it was like, oh my goodness, we're trying to launch and we haven't got a logo. And so I shared all how we dealt with that, how we break it down, how we backpedaled. So sharing that through the community so that other people can start to see, actually, what is it when you start a new company? What's it going to be like? What actually goes on, and actually how much commitment is involved?
Yeah.
Because we see Dragon's Den on TV and somebody getting, 100,000 investment, and we think, oh, that was easy. But you don't see all the stuff that goes into it before then to even get somebody to that point, let alone what happens after that.
That's so true. And I think it's important for people to see the good, the bad, and the ugly, you know? That's the reason that there aren't more people running businesses, because they are nervous about those sorts of things, or one, aren't willing to put in the work to actually complete and run a successful business. Or the flip side is just not having the right, or just not knowing what to do in situations. So I think seeing that it's not all as glamorous as it sometimes seems on the surface of watching someone else's social media page, but actually the gritty stuff that's happening behind the scenes that you're documenting, I think is just amazing.
And hopefully people also see we have a lot of fun, and there is it's one of those things that we don't probably record as much because there's a lot of laughter that happens. But I think people get from me the excitement that we are having fun, and again realizing that with this stuff, even when things go wrong, you can still smile through it, and as long as you're mitigating your risks enough that you're not doing something stupid, you can still actually have a lot of fun even when things go wrong. But the reality is it's hard work, and that's what I want to share with people, the hard work that it's going to take to do this, and the reality of that. And even, it may be I'm on the forum in a year's time going, do you know what, none of it worked. we lost everything, and we're gonna have to start again. And if that's the case, great, because again, welcome to the real world. That's what happens. We will do everything we can for that not to happen, of course, because it's a very important social cause that we're working towards, but that may be the way it goes. And when I decided recording it, I thought, whatever happens, I'm sharing this, because people need to see what happens in real life.
I like it. I think it's really good. Well, I want to take you back to kind of the early stages, because I can imagine that there might be a lot of people listening to this saying, oh, this all sounds fantastic and it's so exciting and there's so many things happening. But this part of the journey it's easy for you to say that if it all falls apart, that who really, I'll just start again, because you've got that support and the financial support, I guess, from your very first business, which is helping to kind of feed you through the rest of this journey. So let's think a little bit about, those people that are starting out right at the beginning. What are some of the first things that you would, or what's the first piece of advice maybe that you would give somebody that's looking at transitioning from maybe doing their business on the side and still working full time and looking to transition, they'd like to go into a full, to make their business full time? What's a piece of advice that you would offer them to sort of progress that or make that journey happen a little bit quicker?
It's just going to sound like really bizarre advice, but actually to not focus on the money, which might sound like really bad business advice, and if you take it too literally, it probably is the best advice. But one of the biggest challenges that I see small business owners have is they focus on where's the next buck coming from, which if you are reliant on the business, of course, that is going to be a priority. But what happens when you do that is you get so focused on it, you often miss all the opportunities, and you often extract the joy out of your business because you're focusing on it just for money. So even if it means you've got to go and work a day job and build your business in the evenings, and that takes the pressure off, then go do that. Rather than becoming obsessed with where the next deal is coming from. Because that is I always think humans have a sixth sense, right? We don't even
they smell the desperation.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a really interesting, you may have heard of a guy called Matthew Syed. He's a big sports commentator, often writes for the Sunday Times. He wrote a book called Bounce. And I had the pleasure of spending some time with him a few years ago. And he was talking, he's an Olympic table tennis player. I think he got a silver medal or something. But anyway, he's pretty good, right? And his reaction times have been tested at universities, and they're some of the best in the world. And one day he gets sent to interview a tennis player. I forget which tennis player it was. And they're at a tennis court, and this guy's apparently got like one of the fastest serves. So Matthew Syed says, well, serve a ball at me and I should be able to return it. I've got some of the fastest reaction times. I've got much more time than I've got with a ping pong bat, so he should be able to serve it, and he cannot do it. And the reason he can't do it is because when that tennis player serves that tennis ball, it's not about the reaction time. It's about how many you've returned. Because when you look at that tennis player, you may not realise it, but if you're a pro tennis player, you see thousands of movements that you don't even know your brain sees, but your brain does see them. So you see all these movements, and that's how a pro tennis player can return a ball to another pro tennis player. And I think it's the same when it comes to building a business. The customers out there, they can see stuff that they don't even realise they can see. And one thing they can see without a shadow of a doubt is any sense of desperation or need for money.
Right.
And even if you're trying to hide it, it's like they can see it like that tennis player.
Yeah.
They can see those tiny, tiny movements or whatever it is. And as soon as they sense that, of course, their brain says, alert, they're trying to sell me something.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, shutters up. end of. And so when you're in that position that you're desperate for the money, what happens is you're, without even realizing it, you're kind of telling people that, and that really, really hinders you. So if you can find a way to do your business so that you are just loving it for the business, forget about the money, you just love what you do so much, all of a sudden you'll find that you become more successful. And even me personally, I went through this not long ago. I had some expenses, I was moving house, all sorts of things. And I suddenly went, okay, I need to up my earnings. And do you know what? For the first time in ages, I just couldn't bring money in because I'd suddenly started focusing on the money again. And it wasn't about doing what I was passionate about doing. It was about focusing on the money.
Yeah.
So if you can try to unfocus on the money, the caveat on this is what you're doing has to be commercial.
Yes. Good point.
There are so many small business owners with amazing, passionate ideas about things that, if we're completely honest, are never going to be commercial. They're never actually going to turn a profit because the manufacturing costs are too high or there's just not the customer base. So again, if you don't know if your product's commercial, go and sit down, find a mentor, find somebody. You don't even have to pay. Go and find somebody that you know that will be able to look at it, that's got a commercial mind, and say to them, is this commercial? Because otherwise, again, it is a little bit like drawing blood from a stone.
Yeah.
It's never going to quite take off.
Gotcha. Yeah, great advice. I think that is really, really good. So tell me, just to wrap things up here, Fran, what's next on the agenda for you? What's in the pipeline? Have you got any for Goal 17, which is the new business partnership business that you've just launched? You got any marketing tactics up your sleeve that you're planning to implement? What's happening?
Well, we have, if we pull it off, it will be amazing. We have a launch happening, all being well, in the next couple of weeks, that we've been trying to work our contacts and beg, borrow and steal anybody that else has got good contacts to do a little launch event where we're going to hopefully drag in some professional footballers. We've got a big online TV channel that wants to film it if we can get a few people involved in it.
Oh,
so we're going to do a little bit of and this is way out of my comfort zone, Stacey. I've never done anything like this. It's going to be a bit of a kind of like video PR stunt, but if it works, it'd be great. So it's a new territory for me. So again, if anyone wants to see me completely mess up on that, please come and watch the forum. We had a meeting the other day and apparently we were all wearing tracksuits, which I'm not thrilled about, but there you go. This is what happens when you work with footballers. They insist on wearing tracksuits all the time, and apparently I need to be part of the team.
Oh my
goodness,
there you go. That is a challenge. Well, that sounds so exciting. I'm so looking forward to hearing a little bit more about that.
Yeah, and I was going to say, other than that, it's just business as usual. Keep putting stuff on the forum, keep sharing the message, and just, again, advice for any business owner, just see where the wind takes you. I don't know what's coming up next, but I'm just getting myself out there, speaking to lots of people, building lots of relationships, working with lots of people, and let's see what happens.
Yeah, I love it. It's so great. So, Fran, how can we reach out to you? How can we get in touch? Where do we find you? Tell us a little bit about where we can locate you online.
So on Facebook, it is Fran B Global, so FRANB and then Global, all one word. So that's both my personal profile and you'll find the Facebook group. Again, please do join us. Come and join the craziness that goes on in the group and join in the conversation. Twitter, again, it's all Fran B Global, so you can just follow that.
Awesome.
And if you want to watch specifically the feeds from Goal 17, that's Goal 17 Global. It is more of a corporate product. If anybody here is corporate, we'll be doing a lot more on LinkedIn, because it is aimed at companies with sort of at least 100,000 turnover plus. So if anybody is interested in that, please do come follow the journey. But if you're a small business owner and you just want to learn the lessons and see how it takes and just be part of the fun, then Facebook and Twitter, and still, connect on LinkedIn as well. But it's the Fran B Global bit is where you'll find more interesting content.
I love that. That's perfect. Thank you so much, Fran. I've really enjoyed listening to your journey, and the amount of things you have going on right now is just really exciting. So I think we're all looking forward to following your journey and seeing what's next for you, really. So thank you so much for joining us on the show. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Stacey. It's been wonderful talking to you, and really excited to see all the stuff that you're creating as well.
Thanks so much. See you soon.
See you soon. Bye.
I loved recording that podcast with Fran. She has so much energy. I love it. Here are my top 3 attention grabbers from this episode. Attention grabber number 1. Utilize Facebook Live. To be able to show off who you are as a personality gives you so much authority. How it made her more authentic. It just meant that she wasn't recording different versions of videos over and over again and trying to edit them. She just really just put herself out there and wasn't so focused on making the message perfect. She was just focused on making it honest. And I think for anybody that is living their true core values as a person and through their business, that is something that you shouldn't be afraid to do. So I think utilizing Facebook Lives and, one of her top tips there, it saves her time. She doesn't worry about all that editing. She just gets out there and does it, and it's done, and it goes and does the work for her. So utilizing Facebook Lives, even getting on Instagram Live, utilizing those free platforms, great advice. Attention grabber number 2, proof of concept. One thing Fran talked about there was going out and testing the market before you actually develop a product or a service. So within her Facebook community, or her forum as she calls it, going and testing, asking people questions, people responding to her advice about things, and then them asking her to create a product, I think is just a fantastic piece of advice. So she hasn't gone and spent a bunch of time and money creating a new coaching program that she wants to deliver before she knew that people actually wanted to purchase it. So I think thinking about, proving your concept is actually worth something before you go and invest either time or money in creating it is just a great piece of advice. Attention grabber number 3, document your journey. That is so awesome. I love it. And I think Fran does such a good job of it too. For anybody that hasn't seen her online, please do go and check her out, Fran B Global. She just makes a really, really great impact in terms of nobody's perfect. She shows off the really good sides to her business, the wins, all the fantastic success that they're having, but she also shows the challenges too. And again, that just helps to build so much trust. And I think, she's doing that for one part of her business, but then her coaching business is also benefiting from that because people are seeing, how she reacts to things that are challenging, how she gets on with things when there's a problem, being able to show off that what really happens behind the scenes in business helps to build that trust and actually leads to more business for her. So documenting your journey, I think it's great. That's it for this episode. Don't forget to connect with Fran via her social media channels, and I look forward to joining me next time where we'll be meeting another business owner who will unlock their vault of marketing knowledge and provide us access to their secrets to success within their business.
You've just been listening to the Vault podcast with Stacey Kehoe. If you've enjoyed the show, she'd really appreciate you leaving a review on iTunes. And don't forget to head over to www.thevault.global for more free content that will help you build an effective marketing strategy.